Welcome back to the Practice Pulse, where we talk about systems, strategy, and execution behind businesses that are not just innovating, but actually building the infrastructure for sustainable growth. I'm Nancy Margrit, founder of Optima Pro AI, and today we're digging into a part of healthcare that's changing fast, the shift from reactive care to proactive, personalized, longevity focused care. Today's guest is David Pachkofsky, founder and CEO of Dapper Care. David is a serial entrepreneur with a deep background in technology and health innovation, and now he's building a platform designed to help physicians stay at the center of modern care while giving patients a more seamless, personalized experience. Dapper's model is especially timely because it sits at the intersection of physician enablement, telehealth expectations, AI support, and the broader move toward prevention and health span. David, I'm happy to have you on.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, David, you've built across multiple industries and had success in high growth environments. So, I want to start with a bigger picture. What specifically pulled you into building Dapper, and why did this problem feel important enough to become legacy level company for you?
A big question. Where do I start? Well, okay. So this is my 16th company. So yes, I've been at it here for a while here, over 25 years. And I've been in the health and wellness space for about 20 years, but primarily, selling direct to consumer nutraceutical products that were unregulated. And we also were a manufacturer. And I just got a bad taste in my mouth from that whole experience because my claim to fame is I've sold nearly $1 billion in these products over the last 20 years, but I just never felt a sense of, I don't know, like that I was moving the needle. It was a natural progression with the emergent need for telehealth during COVID to develop a platform. And I've got a technology background. I went to school to be an anesthesiologist originally. And then started my first company when I was 15, sold it my senior year of college. I was on track to to go to med school, become an anesthesiologist. And then as soon as I sold the company, my senior year, I got the bug to start another one.
Hmm.
Instead of staying on track, you know, got derailed a little bit and decided to go back to school and get a computer science degree instead of just dropping out. And then I was head of the entrepreneurship society and I decided to get an entrepreneurship degree as well. So did that. And then I wanted to become a motivational speaker. And so I actually went to Notre Dame for public speaking and leadership for a brief stint there. And then I moved out to the West Coast, California, and I got into the marketing industry. And all my companies are built on my marketing platform. So Dapper, using my technology background and my experience in the healthcare space, we originally built this platform for direct to consumer, similar to Hims or Roman, offering treatments for things that have a stigma about them, the things that people don't like to talk about, men's and women's sexual health, hair loss, skincare issues, hormone replacement therapy, erectile dysfunction, all the fun stuff. So, but as I went through this process, and it's been 5 years, I found that I started to get this feeling. Well, for one, I wanted this to be my legacy project, meaning I've done plenty of companies and I'm also an angel investor. And I'd like to, after this, pivot to just, I'll probably, raise my own fund and focus on investing. And I had this significant event happened to me through this process of building Dapper, which was, an unfortunate event, but I lost my brother to brain cancer. My brother was not even 40 years old and he was he was my not only a brother, but a best friend. And it was extremely hard on the family as it, would be most people. But with every terrible thing that happens in life, something good usually comes from it. And so, or at least that's the way I try to, you know, it's like I say,
Yeah.
I don't base my successes off of my wins. I base them off of my failures because I learn from each mistake and hopefully don't make it again. Sometimes I do. but we won't get into that. But nevertheless, with my brother, I really took a step back and started realizing, and being, it brought my family really close. And, and talking to my parents, and with my parents losing my brother and everything. And they started telling me, like, I started talking about, well, I'm building a longevity platform. And they said, well, I don't know if I want to extend my life longer. I mean, not that sounds terrible, but like,
Yeah.
meaning like once you get to that age where you start falling apart, not saying that my parents are, but they're 78, late 70s, they're getting that direction. People don't necessarily want to extend their life when they're, falling apart, right? So it's about Dapper is about extending your health span, not your lifespan. Okay. I mean, well, they both go hand in hand, but it's about the good years, right? It's about, you want to extend the years when you're still functional, when you can enjoy your family and you can travel, going through this whole process. And and seeing my parents having to deal with the grief and my brother and everything, it made me realize that it's not about just extending your lifespan. It's about extending your health span. It's the good years that count. It's the years that when you can actually still function and at your best and spend, you're still, clear in the head and be able to enjoy life. And it's not about the material things and the things that you acquire in life. It's about the experiences and the memories that you make. And so, anyways, I don't have to get too sentimental, but that's what really made me pivot. And so we made this fundamental shift, whatever you want to call it. I call it a growth hack, because it really took our scaled our growth to a whole nother level. But from a direct to consumer model to a B2B2C model, which is, not only are we're trying to improve and extend people's health spans, but we're also trying to help the doctors out. And the real problem that I saw was that by going through this process and analyzing everybody, our hymns and enrollment and everything, they're building amazing platforms. I mean, I give them a lot of credit. They're amazingly successful, but a lot of these platforms are using AI to replace the doctors, and
Hmm.
they're forgetting that doctors are the center of all of this. I mean, without them, especially from a regulatory standpoint, and I know the lines are getting a little bit blurred these days, but they're they're responsible for everything. Like, even from a technology standpoint, Dapper and like HIMS, we're not even a healthcare company. We're just a technology platform facilitating the relationship between the doctors and the patients. Yeah, and so, but we don't I didn't like that we were cutting out doctors, and we I wanted to build a platform that assisted doctors in helping their patients. And so what we did is we developed Dapper. So the fundamental issue that we're addressing here is that telehealth platforms are replacing the doctor patient relationship, because the experience is easier and more continuous. So and this is all fueled because the demand for this experience and these accessibility for, you know, healthcare and longevity is becoming the new thing.
Hmm.
There's a huge demand. Patients want continuity. So they desire like a seamless long-term relationship. And with telehealth platforms, they they profit off of the entire life cycle or the whole experience, versus doctors just make money off of consultation, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
and that's where the system's kind of broken. And so what we did is we built a solution that it's a unified AI driven platform that makes proactive care simpler to deliver at scale. And what that means is that basically we partner with physicians and we give them the tools. So we become the operations layer to provide the same experience that telehealth platforms are offering to their patients. But allowing them to keep the doctor at the center of everything.
Okay.
And so instead of us a direct consumer model where, we've got to go out and acquire these customers and the acquisition costs can be, up to over $500,000 for sometimes. Hims I think has it down to about $100, but ours is unique. We don't have any our CAC is zero. And the reason for that is because so we partner with physicians, they're our customers,
Hmm.
but there's no cost to the physicians. We become an extension of their practice. We give them the tools that they need to operate in a streamlined, efficient manner, offering the AI assisted tools that the telehealth platforms do. And then they refer their patients to us. And so our revenue comes from their patients. And so the things that we are offering are the services that are post prescription. And this
Hmm.
is a long answer, but there's a lot to explain here.
Yeah, go for it.
The system is very fragmented post prescription. So, and that's the problem. So it's very siloed. So you've got prescriptions. So the medication comes from the pharmacies, which is, siloed. Then you have the labs, which is separate. And then you have like supplement support and, these other therapeutic type treatments and services for especially in the longevity space. And then you have the AI and like the post prescription care or follow up care. And so what we did is we unified everything into one platform. And so doctors no longer have to go log into one platform and or send your prescription to Walgreens and then order your labs and send you to LabCorp or Quest, and then lose you for 3 months while you go and get your labs done and then come back in once they get the labs and analyze them. And then, you know, and then there's just so many things that are broken with the whole system. And so what we
Hmm.
do is we provide it so that the doctor now can consult you, whether it's telehealth or in person, order your labs. Your labs are sent directly to your house. You get them in within like 72 hours. Our labs, they can do up to 130 biomarkers.
Wow.
So, which is now focused, we're shifting that, we're making that huge shift from sick care to proactive care. And
Hmm.
so it's about, I'm getting ahead of myself, but it's this whole concept that like you bring it in for scheduled tune-ups, right? And you do that, well, hopefully you bring it in for scheduled tune-ups, and then you can avoid the catastrophic failure with the engine
Hmm.
blowing up, right? And major expense. Well, you should do that with your body too, right? Instead
Right.
of, and that's how medicine hasn't been like that though up till now. It's only been like you go in when you're having symptoms and you find out you have brain tumor and then you
Hmm.
die a couple of years later or whatever. Like instead, you start going in and taking a proactive approach and doing the blood tests with the multiple biomarkers like ours. We put you on, you know, hormone replacement therapy or, these peptides and all of these treatments that have been, only made available up till now to like, to the elite,
Hmm.
people that can want to spend a lot of money. I mean, now we make it affordable for everybody. And so, and that's what we're doing. We're making accessible treatments and, screening capabilities so that people can take a proactive approach with their health. And so, yeah, it's
I
pretty,
love that.
yeah.
Yeah. So you really took a look at the market and you saw a gap. And so you're bridging that gap between patients and their providers so that they're able to provide streamlined care to people and really experience the benefits of proactive care because we are shifting. It's a great shift right now. I just attended, I'm out here in Kentucky, so the Kentucky Healthcare Innovation Summit. And so there's a
Yeah.
big focus on preventative care in mainstream healthcare right now that there just hasn't been before. So I think this is a great tool for practitioners that are looking for a comprehensive way to really connect with their patients.
Yeah. And
Um,
what,
Go ahead.
what I was just going to say is that, it's there. A lot of most of the doctors we find they want to move in this direction. It's just their hands are tied. They're busy being doctors, and so they
Mhm.
don't have time to innovate, and their hands are tied because they're part of a health system, So
Yeah.
that's where we come in.
Yeah. Which is great. So, a lot of companies in this space went direct to consumer and built around convenience first. What I know you saw the gap, but was there anything else that made you decide to build a physician centered model instead? And why do you believe that matters now more than ever?
Yeah, I think, with entrepreneurs and startups, it's no matter what people say, it really boils down to luck. I mean, a lot of it. I mean, there's a
Mhm.
lot that's it
It
there's
does.
it's a big formula, but there's a lot of luck. I mean, I always say, like, if it's, you build the right team and everything, you can successfully launch the business. But then to get to, $1 million, you have to have the right stuff. But to get to $100 million company, you have to have the right team. But to become $1 billion company, you need just luck and timing.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah.
it. And if you look at everything from, like, Facebook to Uber to, whatever, all of these companies that made a, huge impact, it was they've analyzed it, and it said if it was any other time, and it wouldn't have worked, that it wouldn't have been successful, you know?
Right.
And I can contest to that. I built one of the first daily fantasy sports websites in the
Cool.
US. That was one of my exits. We took it, we raised 3 rounds of funding, and then we exited, and it is right after Black Friday, when e online gaming was banned in the US, because they
Mhm.
wanted to regulate it. They wanted to get their hands in there and make some money off of it. And there was all these, you know, these European and whatever trade, companies all over that were taking advantage of all these gamblers that were in college
Right.
that were, wanting to play online poker and stuff. And so, anyways, so we saw that need, and at that time it made sense, and so we developed a platform that was didn't use money, but it filled gave them all this idle time, it gave them something to do, and
Mhm.
so it took off like crazy. I mean, when we launched it, the server crashed the first week because so many people were signing up. We were signing up like 25,000 people a day. It was insane,
Wow. Yeah.
and so it was just, yeah, it was bonkers, but it just shows that, like, now the company doesn't exist anymore. There's no reason for it because then they just finally regulated it, and then real money came back into play, and now people don't wanna play for it with points, they wanna play with real money, and so but it was just it's just all about timing there. And so, I guess, I don't know, I don't have a big fancy answer for you other than I think it's the right time right now, and it just makes sense. We're at a critical point right now with artificial intelligence and healthcare and longevity and everything that's, becoming, buzz. But I'm all about technology. I mean, I love it, but I also understand where we're not quite there yet. Doctors they will be replaced at some point. Of course, we probably will be, Terminator's going to take over the world, right?
You never know.
Yes. But not yet, and so the idea here is that AI is there to assist, not replace. Okay. So, and that's what we're trying to do. And so we're not only just building a platform with AI, but we're also have this amazing 24/7 care team that supports the patients so that they don't have to bog down the doctors with administrative tasks and stuff and trying to figure out where their prescription is, or it's too expensive, or this or that, And so, anyways, and a big driver was that when I came up with this AI concept for this AI health navigator, which I call like a doctor in your pocket, even though we're kind of changing that because it's not technically a doctor. So, and we're not replacing the doctor.
Right.
But we actually, Amazon funded us. They're our first investor. They funded our proof of concept for our AI health companion.
That's awesome.
And that was a process that we went through to try to, we developed this proof of concept that was like, it's like doing a Zoom call with your doctor, but it's an AI generated avatar. You can customize it and ask it anything you want, and it supports you along your journey post prescription, and
Mhm.
where the doctor, so that you don't have to call the doctor and ask them all these questions and stuff. So that's the idea with it. Plus, it's also helping the doctors because it's feeding in all this data and it's putting it into the charts so the doctor can constantly have an update on what's going on with the patient. So,
Which
yeah.
is great to bridge that gap between visits so that you're still having that face to face with someone and getting
Yeah.
the answers that you need in between visits. But I think it's also a core function is that it is communicating directly with the doctor. So when you do have that meeting with the doctor, they can look back and see where you were in the journey and what kind of things that you encountered.
Yeah.
So that's what I like about this model is it's not just a product play, it feels like an entire ecosystem. And those only work when the moving parts are clear
Yeah.
and the incentives are aligned and the experience is actually executable in the real world. And it sounds like you have all of those together. And that combined, like you said, with timing, that's when, sparks fly and things ignite
Yeah.
in a good way, just to clarify.
Hopefully.
Um, not in the exploding way we were talking about earlier. So yeah, execution wise, there execution is where a lot of promising healthcare falls apart. The idea can be compelling, but if the delivery's clunky or fragmented or hard to adopt, then growth can stall. How does Dapper actually deliver results in practice from diagnosis to treatment access, patient follow through, and where do you think most people misunderstand what it really takes to make that personalized care scalable?
Yeah, that's a big question. Let me try to break it down. So what I'm going to try to answer this best I can. But what Dapper's trying to do here is that we're focusing on closing the feedback loop. Okay. And so it's this concept that I actually just wrote a blog about it. If you guys want to, just getting started, but on Medium, I have a blog that I post. I write stuff about longevity and startups and, you know,
Great.
all the,
We'll link that in the show notes.
yeah,
I'll get it
yeah,
from you after. Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And, but I just did this article on closing the feedback loop, which is, I think, a critical piece to really what is going to take, healthcare to the next level and what's been broken with the system up till now. And it's the idea that like, doctors, they give you blood tests or they screen you for things and then they check you out and then they say, okay, your triglyceride levels are off or you're getting fat or whatever, your blood
Mhm.
sugar levels
Yeah.
or you're going to get diabetes. And then they say it's time to change up your diet. I'll give you an example. Okay. So my father, he's in better shape than I am. Uh, he's always been a picture of health, but we have hereditary heart disease in my family. So, and when he was, I don't know, he was in his early 50s, I think. He almost had a massive coronary and died. He didn't, but he is crazy.
Wow.
He was in perfect shape, but which was the problem because he didn't have really any symptoms, but he started to feel like, when he was working in the yard and stuff, he started to get tired and more than normal. And like he went in and they checked him out and they didn't see anything that was wrong because he just went to his his regular doctor and then his primary care and then they misdiagnosed him with a ulcer, and because of the angina or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
I'm assuming. And so I mean, which is crazy. I mean, thank God my mom is so, you know, anal about that stuff. And she was like, no, you're going to go see a cardiologist. And so she wanted to get him in to see this Dr. Katroser, who's like did the heart surgery on like the president. And, but it took forever to get in to see him. And so in the meantime, he passed the stress test. He went in and got a $2 million life insurance policy out on himself without telling my mom. Yeah, that's how he operates. But, and then anyways, he finally got in to see the doctor, the cardiologist, and the only thing that was off was like his good cholesterol level was off, I think, and there was probably
Hmm.
some, but and so and then when they went in and they checked him, did an angiogram, they found that he had 98% blockage in one artery and like I don't know, like almost 100% in the other one or something like that.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they literally like rushed him into the operating table like right from there, or he's probably already in.
Yeah.
Whatever, crazy. And so he didn't have a heart attack, and he never had to have it. He's been good ever since. But it's just like he was in perfect shape, but
Hmm.
and back then everything was unhealthy. So that was back when like Kentucky Fried Chicken would kill you, and stuff.
It still will.
Yeah, I know.
We're still serving it though.
Kentucky, yes, yes. That was my little jab, I think.
Yeah. Oh, I got
But
it.
yeah, yeah. So, but anyways, and he never ate Kentucky Fried Chicken. That's a bad thing. But you know, they did have like the what they call it, the what was it? There was in all the potato chips and the trans fats that they
Oh, yeah,
removed,
yeah.
right? Yes. Anyways, and so things have evolved since then, and I think people are eating more healthy and stuff. At least, but it's all based off of where you are and what you have what you're it's all about accessibility these days,
Hmm.
right? you know I mean, it's crazy. Like, I think it's over 40% of US population lives in a healthcare desert, which
Hmm.
means that like they have to drive over an hour to access healthcare.
Yeah,
Crazy.
it is crazy.
But so what we're doing with this feedback loop is, the idea is that when with like my father, for instance, when the doctor says, okay, you got to change out everything you're doing, you got to start eating more healthy, even though he's like, well, I already exercise and I already eat healthy. But like, doctors, all they can do is they can just kind of diagnose and then treat and then like tell you what to do. But people, it's like New Year's resolutions, like
Hmm.
90% of them don't do anything with them after like 2 months. And so, when people are told to do something, especially like I can relate to this, I usually do the opposite. So, even if I know it's like I should do it, but that's, you know, another whole story. The problem is that people don't change because of when they're told to do something. They make a change in their lifestyle when they actually see results from something, or they see actual feedback. So, well, the idea is that our platform integrates with smart wearable devices. So you have this like diagnostic data. So now when the patient leaves the doctor's office, he gets his labs at home. It's instead of having to get two big blood draw, vials of blood drawn, like it's just a 2 drops of blood, and we can,
Hmm.
like I said, up to 130 biomarkers. We're rolling out all these other tests. So we're going to be offering the first FDA approved test for HPV for women,
It's awesome.
available at home for at home testing in the US. And it's a pre screening, or a early detection for, I believe it's 10 different, up to 10 cancers that are major killers for women.
Wow.
So, like ovarian cancer and
Hmm.
rectal cancer and, all that stuff down there. So I'm not a doctor, right? Yeah. Yeah. But so it's, these are the things that we're trying to do. So you get early indicators of these things. And like I've been talking to the doctors that we that are on our platform, and like they've like, I met with one a couple weeks ago, and she said she's had a couple patients recently that literally like saved their, I mean, she probably saves lots of lives,
Right.
um but where the tests actually helped, meaning like one of them, she found a brain tumor from it,
Wow.
because
Yeah.
his levels were off or something like that
Hmm.
on something, and so she referred him to a specialist, and then they
Hmm.
found it. And the other one was, that something was off, and he was diagnosed with lupus, I think, something,
Wow.
which is
Yeah.
pretty. But anyways, but so when you have smart wearable devices, so now we're pulling in like their sleep and their stress and anxiety levels and their metabolics and all of the stuff that makes you tick, and feeding it into this platform, and you've got thousands, if not millions, of patients on the platform because for every doctor that we sign up, they refer between 500 and 3,000 patients on average to us on a
Wow.
monthly basis.
Yeah.
That's how many they have in their patient panel. And so we have 60 doctors on the platform right now, and we launched in January.
That's
And but
great.
we're planning on having 100 on the platform by June. That's a lot of. I mean, we have 20,000 patients that we're in the process of onboarding right now, and we're planning on having, I think it's you know, over 100,000 or a couple 100,000 by the end of the year. So, but that's a lot of data being fed in, and AI analyzing
Mhm.
it, and now it can start making predictions and using its own knowledge and the knowledge from all the patients that are on the platform, and being able to flag things for the doctor without you know the patient having to ask or.
Right.
And so the idea is that you've got a dashboard on ours, which there's other companies out there like Function Health and stuff that have something similar, but this is going to be. I know people love to have all of the fancy stuff on there, but this is going to be something that is just very basics. Well, you can drill down and get everything you want, but like at a snapshot, it's looking at a dashboard like you're looking at the dashboard in your car, and you've got a couple of dials that are like, are you in the green or are you in the red? And every time you make a change in your diet or your exercise or your sleep patterns, or you add medication or hormone replacement therapy or everything, you're going to be able to see immediate feedback on how that actually changed your overall health, right? And
Mhm.
so by having that direct feedback, you make fundamental permanent changes in your life. And that's how you're moving the needle. And that's how we're closing this feedback loop. That's a long answer at least. So
No, it's so true. Those that measurable outcome piece matters because patients, they don't just need recommendations, they need to understand like what's affecting their health. So that
yeah.
feedback loop is critical. And the physicians don't just need more data, they need the right data in a usable format.
Yeah.
So if you don't mind, just briefly, like we've kind of hit pieces here and there. I want you to first walk me through like what's the typical practitioner experience and then what's the typical patient experience with using Dapper.
Sure. So which one should I start with?
Let's start with the practitioner.
Sure.
What's the types of practitioners first of all, and then like what's
Yeah.
what's that experience as they get onboarded and start using the platform?
So we focus. So we're going to have. So we're a cash pay only. I mean, I haven't even really dug into everything that we do, but we focus on treatments that are not typically covered by insurance. Okay, anything that's longevity based is typically not, unfortunately, covered by insurance, and we'll probably accept insurance or some form of it in the future. But I'm kind of anti health insurance. I mean, and because it's just, they're the ones that are hindering everything, and with
Mhm.
the billing codes and everything, it's just insane. And so, um, and what we're doing is we're making these treatments accessible to everybody, um, that without the need for insurance, because we're cutting out the middleman, and by doing that we keep the costs affordable, and most of our treatments are actually less expensive than people are paying with insurance for the other stuff. So
Mm.
we launched with focusing on men's health specifically. um in the name Dapper, leads people to think that it's just for men, but it's not. So our biggest market actually is going to be women, which we're in the process of rolling out right now. We're already onboarding like, OBs and anybody that's focused on women's health. So for
Mhm.
hormone replacement therapy and sexual health. And, there's also that includes like skincare, longevity, hair loss, all of that good stuff. It is, and it's kind of a unique market because there's so many different kinds of doctors that are moving into this longevity space and the wellness space. So there's, you know, originally it was just like urologists for the men's sexual health, right? And then you've got women with the OBGYNs, and then you've got these wellness clinics that could be, like I met with, you know, the OB that delivered my kids. I met her, a couple weeks ago, and she's got a wellness clinic now, and she's partnered with a plastic surgeon and I think a physician assistant and a venture capitalist. So it's just random, but
Hmm.
so there's, all types of doctors that are moving into the longevity space. But so we provide these cash pay only compounded medications. And I didn't even know what compounding was up until I started this company. So most people don't actually, which is
Yeah.
why it's because I have to explain to investors, that we're not just trying to disrupt like the healthcare industry or like the pharmacy industry because they're already kind of been disrupted, or people are working on it.
Hmm.
What we're really disrupting is like the key space is the compounding industry. And that's what's so archaic. It's like in compounding is medications that are made personalized for each patient. Right. And so,
Hmm.
if you don't want something that's like, you don't want pills, you can't take pills. So you can get it compounded into a liquid form or sublingual or transdermal, or all these different types of, how you administer the drug. But also you can change the concentration, and then you can compound multiple medications together or add peptides to them, or, things. So that's why you have, so our big focus is on erectile dysfunction, hormone replacement therapy. So men, it's like, testosterone primarily, and then the peptides and all that, the stuff that you hear about. And then women, it's, testosterone and estrogen and progesterone, estrogen, I can't say that word, progesterone,
Progesterone.
but yeah, that one too.
Yep.
And then weight loss, which is a huge market, obviously, with the GLP-1
Hmm.
you hear about, and GLP-2 and GLP-3, you know. And so, and the idea is that people were going out and just had access to like Ozempic and Wegovy before and Mounjaro, and paying $1,800 a month for it, and insurance wouldn't cover it, and it was insane, and there was a huge shortage, and we compound it, and we charge $150 to $300 for it. It's the same thing. It's just compounded, so it's not name brand, and the price will keep dropping. And so the idea is that we're connected with two of the largest, compounding pharmacies. We're nationwide and available in all 50 states. We've got like 5 or 6 locations, so strategically placed so that you can get your medication within 48.
Wow.
And and we're planning on having, up to, I think it's 12 pharmacies by the end of the year connected to the platform. It's and the reason we do that is because it's kind of like, the finance loan company that says let lenders compete for your business kind of thing.
Hmm. Hmm.
By us having all these multiple pharmacies, they compete for our patients, and it drives the prices down for the patients. And so in the compounding industry, there's like 98% margin in that industry. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Maybe you should have gone into that.
I mean, it's like erectile dysfunction, Viagra is like the number one sold medication ever in history. Men will buy that before they buy food for their family.
Yeah.
And it costs, 80 or $90 a pill for the name brand stuff. And insurance doesn't typically cover it, or not all of it. Uh, but we compound it, and we sell it for like, I think we sell it for around $1 a piece. But in high volume, we can get our costs down to to around 2 cents each.
Wow. That's
It's crazy.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where our focus is on. It's on, basically on these treatments that were not accessible to everybody before, and like especially with the hormones.
Hmm.
And women, I think we're going to make a huge impact because, unfortunately, the FDA, like, published some really shitty, basically some inaccurate reporting on hormones and it scared everybody, all the women years ago. So like it dropped off down to like, I don't know, it was like next to no one was actually getting them because they thought it
Right.
was going to hurt them. And then they came back and republished the study and said, oh, that was wrong.
Oops. Yeah.
Oops. And so all along, all these women have been suffering from, there's no reason that women need to, go through, menopause and have all of these, the things that happen to women, you
Yeah.
know. And same with men, though. I mean, you fall apart, as soon as you hit
Yeah.
40. So
Yeah, both sides are falling apart around that age. Yeah, awesome. So that gave us a good perspective of some of the stuff that you're doing there. So the practitioner is able to bring in a patient. Is the practitioner able to kind of
yeah,
customize what the patient sees? Like, is it so if they have a
yeah. So I didn't go into the
specific focus?
experience a little bit, but I give you a scenario. So the doctor basically logged. So the doctor. So as of right now, we're a standalone platform, but we are our next big move. We're closing our Series A round of funding here in June.
Mhm.
We've got commitments for about half of the 3 million that we're raising, and that's going to fund our expansion and ability from a technology standpoint to be able to expand our formulary, but also integrate with the HRs, which is a huge move because right now it's not inconvenient. We're actually saving the doctors tons of time. It cuts prescription writing down to less than I think it's like 20 seconds or something like that it takes to write a prescription. But
Wow.
so the experience is basically the doctor logs into Dapper platform and it looks very similar to the EHR. So they're familiar with the actual interface and stuff, but
Mhm.
they log in and then they can order the labs or they can order the prescriptions. But the problem is that doctors that don't always write prescriptions for compounding, it's kind of becomes a pain because you have to write a prescription for exactly what you're having compounded. So it's like
Mhm.
I need it in a liquid form and I need this many milligrams. Da, da, da. And so
Right.
that's the problem. And the formularies aren't synced up. And so the average compounding pharmacy it takes over a week and a half to get your medication when you submit it because they just can't do high volume. Most of them are like these, family owned businesses on the corner
Yeah.
and they just don't have the resources, but also like they do batches of this stuff. So when you go to like get an order, if let's say they already did a batch and they're almost out, they have to wait until they do another batch for them to actually do yours.
Uh,
It's crazy. Um, and so what we do is we actually sync up exactly their formulary, all the prescriptions they're writing with ours exactly. And so they're already set up in the system. So it's a drop down menu so that they don't have to like write anything. They just go in there and they can select them and then hit send. And then patient gets an SMS and an email notification that says, welcome to Dapper, Dr. So and so, we received a prescription from Dr. So and so. Please log into the platform and set up your account. Patient just, logs in and adds their payment credentials and pays for the medication. And then that's it pretty much. Their medication is sent to the pharmacy for and gets filled. And then it's like an Amazon experience.
yeah.
You track the progress of it's being filled and shipped and you get the tracking link and then you receive it and the doctor can also track all that stuff too. So um and then the patient can log into the platform to access our care team, which is
Mhm.
available 24/7. That's via phone or a secure messaging or email. And then we have escalation protocols that are in place that based off of what we're not we're not doctors and so we don't treat, but like if they ask a question or if they say like, I'm having chest pain or something like that, then we can escalate it call 911 but
Right.
or we send the message to the doctor, that kind of thing, or put them in touch with them. So that's the experience. And then the doctor, that's right now. But when we're done here, towards, let's say by the end of the year, when everything is completely built, for the most part, the doctor will be able to it'll be integrated with the EHR. The doctor will be able to seamlessly, send the prescriptions, or the labs, get in the patient's medical records will automatically get updated with everything. Their diagnostic labs will go in there. They'll be able to they'll their consultations will be summarized. Everything will be summarized and flagged for follow up things that
Mm,
need addressing, that kind of thing. So it just the doctor has a streamlined workflow that's assisted by the Dapper platform, but we're not changing anything for them. So there's not a fundamental behavior change, other
right.
than right now they have to log into the Dapper platform. In the future they won't, but we're just assisting them in their day-to-day workflow that they have right now.
Awesome. That's great. I think that gives us a much better, full
Yeah.
picture of the experience. Okay, so let's shift and talk a little bit about operations. When you think about Dapper as an operating company, what are the most important systems underneath the surface that make growth possible? Is it your team structure, partner onboarding,
Yeah.
workflows, compliance, technology, everything?
Yeah. Well, I think, being able to scale a successful company is like there's a formula involved, but, for me, like the key thing is, I mean, I got this right here. It's sitting on my desk. So team.
Very important.
Yes. An amazing group of talented people who work together to attain incredible, awesome results. So my grandfather, taught me and that you base your success off of who you surround yourself with and who you know. And I always say, if I'm the smartest person in the room, then I'm hanging out with the wrong people. So
Right.
I always try to surround myself with people that know the things that I don't know, because I don't have all the answers. And that's, I think, what differentiates an experienced, founder that's had success versus this first time founder is first time founders. And I may think this way still in my personal life, but you have these, founders tend to have these overinflated egos, and they have these, they this impression that they can do everything themselves and they figure everything out, and stuff, because you kind of have to have that mentality going into it, because you have to be self-motivated and a go-getter. But when you finally can realize that you can't do everything and you need to be able to delegate and find people to take care of the things that you struggle with, or whatever, that you're not the expert in, that's when you can become successful. Investors don't invest in products or companies. They invest in the people. They invest in the founders,
Mhm.
and more so in the teams that support them. And so that's what I always I say that really, I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, really, like I said, probably luck is a lot big, it's a lot to do with it. But that one is just the luck, you just rolling the dice with. But really it's the team. I can't say it enough. Like my team I've built, I've my team's incredible. So we've got about, I don't know, there's like 12 to 15 of us on our core team, but there's maybe like 25 total.
Right.
But I'm old, so they're all old too, but, so I'm like
Hey,
one of the,
watch it. I think we're the same age, so just watch who you're
oh,
calling old
really?
over there.
Yeah, you look good. Yeah, so they're all, everybody has 20 plus years of experience in everything. And with healthcare, there's a lot of compliance and there's a lot of red tape, you know, with every business, in order to be successful, you have to be able to create a moat, this concept of creating
Mhm.
a moat, which is, something that basically prohibits or holds back other people from, jumping in, and, it differentiates you and everything. But with healthcare, it almost creates its own moat because there's just like so much that,
Right.
and I mean, when the real reason that I actually launched Dapper, which is going all, setting aside everything else, was that I had an advisor that was advising a successful telehealth company. And I was like, I really want to start this company, telehealth company. And he told me, talked me out of it, or he tried to. And he told me I couldn't do it. And I was like, you asshole.
You're like, watch me.
Yeah, I actually haven't talked to him ever since then. But little does he know, but what I thought to myself when I've done this many times is when someone tells me I can't do it, I'm like, now I'm going to do it 100%, and at any cost, because it's just so. But anyways, yeah. So you have to make sure in healthcare that you cross your T's and dot the I's, and the compliance is a huge thing.
Right.
I mean, we've spent like, I don't know, $250,000 on legal just this year, and it's bonkers. I mean, attorneys are just bonkers in general, but just it's like every time I'm on the phone, I'm like, can I see the stopwatch? Is it running? One, two, three, four. The money's piling up now. But yeah, so there's a lot of compliance, and you just red tape, and you just got to make sure, because it just takes one, and it will happen. It's not a matter of if, it's when you'll have someone that files a complaint, or not
Mm-hmm.
gets hurt.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're going to be doing something wrong, but when someone gets hurt, they sue everybody, because the attorneys tell them that's how attorneys
Right.
operate. They want to get maximum money. So even though we're not a healthcare provider, they can still sue us. So, yeah,
Yeah. So you have to be prepared for those
yeah,
situations. I think that's
yeah,
an important thing to note, especially for anyone in this space.
yeah,
So let's do one more question before we go into the lightning round. Next 3 to 5 years, what shifts do you think founders in healthcare should be preparing for? So you can look at it under the lens of AI, personalized care, the role physicians play in a more data driven system.
yeah. Well, I mean, longevity is going to become more and more, you know, of a thing. I mean, it's big right now, but it's interesting because when I was, talking about surrounding yourself with with smart people and stuff. Well, and I meet people in the most random ways, and there's always a story behind it. But anyways, one of my lead investors, or first investors, was actually Will Bolivar, who is the CTO of SoftBank. He's also on my board, and another one is Kirk Krappe, that is the former founder of Aptus, which is one of the first SaaS companies out there, and he sold it for $2 billion.
Wow.
He's my lead investor, and he's chairman of the board. So they're both been instrumental in connecting us with investors and everybody else. But it's with Will, it's interesting because at first I was like, well, what is the CTO? Are you in charge of building the technology infrastructure for SoftBank? Because they're huge. They have like 70,000 employees. It's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, they also have telehealth, or excuse me, a telecommunications company, and all these other things,
Right.
but so they're massive. But no, his job is actually to work with the founders, and work with the portfolio companies, and basically doing the due diligence to make sure their technology is what they say it is, and stuff,
Hmm.
when they're investing in them. So they're like the major investor in OpenAI and all of these amazing
Wow. Yeah.
companies. And so he works with, Sam Altman and all these guys. It's crazy. Now I always ask him questions, and he can't answer most of them, but because it's privileged information, but I can
Right.
still ask. But no, but it's, it's interesting because the idea is that, what I've pulled together on all of this is that AI, is doing amazing things right now, but it's just scratching the surface. It's the the worst it's ever going to be. It's can only going to get
Right.
better. I mean, but I think it's if we're not careful, it could get too, almost scary. But we don't need to go into the doomsday thing. But Sam Altman says that we are about a year away from this was like 6 months ago, but like a year away from having like AI having you know monumental like impact on, and it'll most likely be in the form of like for healthcare, like
Mm,
a new drug discovery or a treatment for something, or or a scan, treat, a diagnostic, and so these are the things that are going to be really big. AI is going to be able to start diagnosing things that they could never, because they can't analyze things that they.
yeah, massive amounts of data.
I saw sit on these investor panels for judging and stuff, and I was one a couple weeks ago, and this guy had a product that was like it was a toilet seat. He brought the toilet seat up there, and he's like, "This is my product," and I was like, "Wow, it's one of those ones that warms up." It actually did, but it actually like it analyzes your when you go to the
Fecal
bath,
output. Huh.
everything, and then
Yeah.
it reports back, and it tells you everything. I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Because it's analyzing on a regular basis your urine and testing everything, and you know
Wow.
yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Huh.
And it's I'm gonna get this wrong, but it figured out a way to like look at like a urine sample or something like that, and analyze like the just the way it looks visually, and
Really?
notice like a
Huh.
difference from, someone that has something versus it basically was able to notice differences in just how it looked.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. Pretty cool. So,
Yeah, there's a lot that's going to be unpacked in the future with AI as it applies to, well, everything, but specifically healthcare. I think you're
yeah,
right. I
I
think
mean,
we're going to see.
especially with like being able to there's a lot of emerging startups that are working on doing bioengineered like treatments for things like cancer. I'm super excited, and I one of the things that I've done, or I was with losing my brother, I vouched to invest half of the wealth that I make from when I s- if and when I exit Dapper, 50% that I'm going to invest into start early stage startups that are focusing on extending health span, um, and
That's wonderful.
curing cancer and that kind of thing. But there's a lot of these amazing tech, technology that can do personalized uh, treatments for cancer, which is
Mhm.
that's the really the that's why it's such a big challenge to cure cancer, because there's just so many different forms of it. It's almost impossible to like pinpoint, if one person has this and like
Yeah,
the next person's going to have a different strain, and so can actually analyze it and create one on the spot for these patients and stuff. There's some I mean, I'm just blown away. Like when I sit here, I'm like, it really makes me feel pretty, motivated, or,
right.
excited for the future. But then I'm like, wow, I feel like I haven't done anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So,
to your point, it's like there are all these different types of cancer, but then you also have to look at, there are all these variations in human genetics. So the
yeah,
pharmacogenetics space
yeah,
is really expanding with AI and being able to tailor drugs specifically to what's going to work for your specific body and minimize the types of side effects that you're going to have. So I think we're going to see a lot of growth in that space. So I think
yeah.
that's a good thing to point out for the future.
We're going to offer the pharmacogenomics testing to patients here coming up soon too.
That's
That's one.
awesome.
Yeah, which is
Yeah.
I think it's huge, because it's like it doesn't make any sense for like, one treatment, how, you know, a 300-pound linebacker, how it affects that person versus, someone that's, like me at 160 pounds, like it just doesn't,
Yeah, it's
you
not
know, it's
not the
not,
same. Yeah.
no, not at all. Or female and a male or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's not one size fits all. So yeah,
No. Awesome. All right, we're gonna go into the lightning round before we close out. So these are gonna be quick, short answers. Are you ready?
I am maybe.
All right. So, what is one assumption about longevity care that you think founders and physicians need to challenge right now?
I think it's that more data automatically leads to better outcomes. Data is only valuable if it drives behavior change.
Mm,
Without execution, it's just noise.
that's great. Love that. Okay. What habit keeps you steady when the stakes are high?
Ah, alcohol. No, just kidding. Just kidding. Kidding.
That is a first for the show. No one's ever answered that before.
Kidding. My sarcasm comes out. Yeah.
Yeah.
I zoom out and I focus on the long game.
Mm,
So when you're building something meaningful, short term volatility matters a lot less.
nice. Big picture. I like that. What is one signal that you're seeing right now that tells you the industry is actually moving in the right direction?
I would say there's more alignment between technology and physicians. The best companies aren't trying to replace doctors, they're trying to enable them. That's what Dapper's doing.
Awesome. Nice plug, too. Okay, where can listeners follow your work and learn more about Dapper Care?
Yeah, so you can learn more about Dapper Care. Our website is www.dapper.care. I'm active on LinkedIn, so you can, you know, hit me up on there. You just search for my name, you'll find me. There's only two people on there, me and my dad, so hopefully you don't mix us up.
I don't know, you said he's in better shape than you, so maybe
Yeah,
you
right,
will.
yeah.
Okay,
But,
awesome.
yeah, so that's that, and then, like I said, I have a blog on Medium. If you just search for Dapper Care, or my name, you'll find it. It's called the Dapper Digest, so
Awesome. And we'll
yeah,
include a link to that as well as your website and in the
yeah.
in the show notes.
Most of my concentration is all on Dapper right now, but one thing that I am actively doing right now is I'm mentoring and advising early stage, startups in this space. So, and if I'm open to anybody that's in the healthcare space, but if you're focused specifically on like, cancer research and, longevity, I'm not charging anything. So I would just, do it it's my way of giving back. So feel
That's
free to reach
wonderful.
out to me. My email address is david@dapper.care. So, and I'd love to, I'll jump on a call and love to help in any way I can.
Perfect. That's wonderful. Awesome. Well, David, thank you so much for joining me today. I really enjoyed our conversation. It was a strong reminder that innovation by itself is never the full story. The real opportunity is building some of those systems that make innovation usable, which I think you're doing with Dapper. You're
Yeah,
making it usable, measurable, sustainable in real world situations. To everyone listening, thank you for being here with us on the Practice Pulse. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone building a healthcare, wellness, or innovation driven service, and especially any physicians that you think might benefit from Dapper's services. Of
definitely.
course, go connect with David and learn more about Dapper and what his team and he are building. Innovation creates possibility, implementation turns it into growth.